Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Wake and Take. It's your boy, Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. And today, you guys finally get a break from just me yapping. I'm bringing on my friend Alan Seslowsky from RotoWire. You've seen him on the Sonic Truth as well. We're going to break down some of these trending topics. We're going to talk about roster cuts, training camp, preseason, and of course, we're going to give you some hot takes. So go ahead, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Alan, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's always good to see your smiling face. What's in that coffee? There's something else in there. Did you put a little liquid cocaine in there? What's in that?
No, it's just a lot of cinnamon. All right.
All right. I thought maybe you were, doing some speed or something like that, but I forgot. This is like, this is the energy of this show, which I love. This is why I tune in.
Thank you for tuning in. It's all I always am just, aghast, if you will, when you tell me you watch. But it's cool. A lot of people are out there watching the show, as we see in the chat. Donald, Bogue, Semper, Applied, Box, Snowman, Paul, Brian. Good morning to you all. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes. Ouch. Shout out podcast. I mean, nothing better than shouting out people on a podcast. I mean,
it's the best.
Yeah.
We should just do a whole show on shouting out people.
Oh, dude, I go through this when we do the radio show. Like, all these shows, they take like callers. I always say like callers are the worst radio because the questions are horrible. They go on and on and on. They don't ever know when to cut it off. So we just stopped taking callers on the radio show. So shout out stuff, callers on podcasts. That's why it's good to have the comment section, because you can kind of be the arbiter of when you want, and you paraphrase the question. So you're doing it the right way, Jason.
Thanks. I try my best. We're 2 years into this thing now, so we're rocking and rolling here on the Wake and Take. And Jamie, just to set the record, I was at a concert last night. Oh. It was Green Day and Smashing Pumpkins, not NSYNC, but still basically the same. There's no difference between Smashing Pumpkins and NSYNC.
Yeah, Billy Joel, he still has it, right? I mean, like, I've seen some clips from them making the rounds. That's actually a good throwback concert. I saw them at Madison Square Garden in 2010, so they were like at the late peak of their powers, Green Day. And it was just like, it was literally one of the best concerts I ever saw.
Yeah, they've still got it. They did Dookie and American Idiot in full last night, and then Smashing Pumpkins did their stuff. Billy Corgan.
Yeah, Billy's the real deal. And it's everyone wants to see the hits, and this is what I tell fantasy football like creators at RotoWire, right? I say they come to me with all these like cockamamie ideas they want to do on the video platforms. I said, look, do you know who's watching fantasy football content at this point? It's people want to know who to pick, who to avoid, who are the sleepers, who are the busts. And I know it's like it would be like going to a concert for the Rolling Stones, and they don't want to do Start Me Up. They want to play the new album. It's like, dude, do the hits right now. So
So speaking of doing the hits, let's just go ahead and start talking some football. We could talk all we want about music, but we've got football kicking off in a week, literally. Thursday Night Football is next week, so things are really heating up. We've got some news stories coming out, and I've got 3 big ones that I just wanted to kind of, pick your brain on. We'll start with Dalvin Cook signing with the Cowboys. Which of these running backs are you choosing?
Dalvin Cooked, right? I mean, Dalvin Cook signing is a nice big name signing, but we've already seen him, Jason, kind of just be a depth option on the, like, what was he at? The Ravens, the Jets. It didn't work out. Was he on the Ravens? I don't remember. Was it?
Yeah, I feel like it was towards the end of the season he ended up there.
Right.
Yeah.
I just thought this was an upgrade over Royce Freeman. I mean, it's still going to be Dowdle. It will be used. He's a good between the 20s type of player. Probably undraftable after you were getting him in like the 10th plus round. I still like Zeke as like a 12th round player that you could probably bank on 700 yards and 8.5, 9 touchdowns, right? I mean, he's going to, if they get in close, I think that Zeke is still the best option. And then, I think in a typical like redraft league, like 16 rounder, I probably wouldn't take Dalvin Cook, and he'll just be like the week 6 waiver wire guy when Zeke has an ankle. But, look, if somebody wants to make the bet the opposite way, I respect it. But Zeke is like a poor man's or equal to the Gus the Bus over in LA.
Yeah, the way I like to describe Zeke is he's the best running back in the NFL, at gaining 1 yard. He's so good
Yeah.
at getting 1 yard.
Those 1 yards are like touchdowns.
Yes. It's like every time he gets one, maybe two, and that's kind of where it ends. But he's the best at doing that. He really is.
Being a goal line back is actually a skill, right? Like you think like, oh, I could get 1 yard. No, it's like understanding the creases and how to push the pile forward. Zeke's really good at that. He's always been. So he's been a touchdown scorer. I still like him. Again, the Dalvin Cook thing is a name signing, but he's probably from, like I said, just a Royce Freeman upgrade.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I could maybe see him start to push Rico Dowdle at some point if he does kind of maybe tap into his dual threat stuff. But Ezekiel Elliott went back to Dallas for a reason. You know, the coaching staff likes him a lot. The team likes him a lot. The front office likes him a lot. He likes being there. Like, he's going to get the rock, especially in those goal line situations, shorter situations and stuff like that. I am curious to see what happens with Dalvin. You know, maybe he's got some fresh legs or something since it's been so long. And you know, if you told Cowboys fans 6 years ago that they'd have Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott on the same team.
Right. I mean, obviously, you know, running back careers in the NFL are like melting ice cubes, right? Like the minute you take them out of the freezer, you put it just like starts going down, and quickly, right? Because an ice cube does melt pretty quickly. And if you can right now in our like dynasty leagues, if you can get a 4th round rookie pick in 2025 for Dalvin, would you take it?
Yeah, 4th. Yeah, because that was Ryan Flournoy this year. We could have got some Ryan Flournoy for Dalvin.
Look at you. It always comes back to Ryan Flournoy, which, by the way, I respect. But yeah, I'm just saying, like any of those guys, I would trade him for any of the quarterback, like the Spencer Rattler. I mean, that's an obvious one, right? So that's probably not the good. But yeah, just like a 26 4th. If you can create space, some waiver dollars. I think that this is the window. Yes. You know, go to the Zeke owner, right, and say, hey, here's Dalvin, right? I mean, give me 50 waiver dollars for him. Give me 35 waiver dollars for him.
Yeah. No, I like that. I mean, because roster space is so important, because we all know after week 1, we're all going to be rushing to the waiver wire to pick up someone that even I haven't covered in my 200 something episodes so far this year. Like, it's just like, it's always someone.
Who do you think that is? Okay. Like, if you had to guess, who is going to be the guy that no fantasy analyst has spoken about this year? There'll be someone victory lapping it and retweeting their own post. Sure. But who is the week 1 waiver wire guy? It was Kyron Williams last year, right? I mean, that was the one that on most leagues didn't get drafted. I know in some high stakes he did, but who's the guy this year that everyone's be like, pick him up week 1? I didn't even think of it.
Kenny McIntosh, Seattle Seahawks.
Wow. That is certainly someone that no one has talked about. I almost cut him the other day. I'm glad I didn't now.
Yeah, there you just hold on to him. I don't believe in Zach Charbonnet. I just don't. So I'm going to go with Kenny McIntosh behind him.
You don't believe he exists, or you don't believe in his ability? Like, he actually exists. He's on this planet.
No, he's fake.
Yeah, I don't believe in God, and I don't believe in Zach Charbonnet. Those two things, you know.
That's all right.
The actual man exists, but you just don't believe in. No, seriously though, you do think that he's like completely a fugazi, right? Like there's nothing to Sharp.
It's partly this, you know, he left my Michigan Wolverines because Hassan Haskins was better than him. And that's a sentence, right? To say that Hassan Haskins was better than him, I think kind of shows a lot. And, you know, we didn't really see much from him last year behind Kenneth Walker. And even when Kenneth Walker was hurt, he only had like one good game. So I don't know. I think it's a volume thing with him. And then Kenny McIntosh, he looked pretty good this preseason. I got to see him at the pro day a little bit going into his rookie season at UGA, and he's a good little pass catcher, and that's something that the Seahawks need. So look for that.
Can I answer my own question? The week 1 guy that nobody's talked about.
Yes, please.
I've seen the future, Jason. I've seen the future. Okay. And the week 1 waiver wire pickup that everyone's going to be talking about, it's not sexy, but it's Jamal Williams when he gets into the end zone twice.
Yeah. Oh,
Alvin Kamara, man. Kamara, only 10 touchdowns in the last 28 games. If they don't Taysom Hill it, it's Jamal Williams, who was the NFL touchdown leader a couple years ago. So that is the one that nobody drafted that everyone's going to be fighting over at the waiver wire after week 1.
All right, Jamal Williams or Rico Dowdle?
Williams, the touchdown upside.
Nice. That's a fun one. All right, we'll move on from this as we now have some quarterbacks that have officially been named starters. We'll start with Russell Wilson. That was probably going to be the case anyway, given the trade package and the reason he was brought in to begin with. You're going to at least give him a go at the beginning of the season. So it's officially official. But how long until he's benched, Alan?
I would say he's not going to be benched because mediocrity, like 3-3, 4-3, 5-4 doesn't get him benched. They have to go the other way. It's Mike Tomlin's one of those coaches that defers to the veteran, the status quo, like Russell Wilson. We see all the flaws in him, but he's kind of been anointed, right? He has a Super Bowl. He's been good in the past. It would have to be an epic failure. Now, if they go 1-3, 1-4, Russ has the 3 interception game, then the fans put the heat on him. But Mike Tomlin seems like one of those coaches that doesn't really feel the pressure. He's never going to be a hot seat coach. He's the longest tenured coach in the NFL, something like that.
Right? Yeah, I think that's right now with Belichick on.
Yeah, so he's like he's like the mafia made man, so he will not feel pressure to do it. I would say Russell Wilson probably, if I was setting until the benching, it would probably be like 11.5, 12 games.
That's fair. Yeah, if it's because I mean you're right. The Steelers defense is going to keep them in games. I mean they made the playoffs last year with Trubisky, Pickett, and Rudolph, right? So Russell Wilson's at least an upgrade from that. Even Justin Fields is an upgrade for that. However, I do think that the Steelers will pull the plug at some point, or maybe he gets injured. I don't think that Justin Fields doesn't at least start a game.
Yeah, but no, wait, Justin Fields could play, and they could do that 2 quarterback thing where like they're on the goal line. And remember when Derek Carr used to jog out and Taysom Hill would jog in, and you're like, what? Whoa, what is this? I have super fly. So that could happen. Like Russ can get him all the way down to like the 2, and then on comes Justin Field to take a snap on the 2-yard line. Like that will happen.
Yeah, that actually will happen. Actually, that's kind of fun to see. I am looking at the Steelers' schedule, and they do have a bye in Week 9, which would kind of work really well for the trade package. I believe it goes from a 6th to a 4th or something like that. If Justin Fields plays more than 50% of the snaps, if they start him after the bye, that's Week 10 onward. That's less than 50%. They still get a great sample size just to see if he actually has it.
Yeah.
He's still got the rushing, but that passing is still definitely a concern from what we've seen in the preseason, taking too many sacks and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the most likely scenario is the annoying thing where neither one of them are useful, and Russ gets all the low-calorie touches, and Justin Fields, has like I said, a rushing touchdown from the 2, no passing yards. So you combine, and you could say the Steelers combined quarterback is QB6 on the year, but meanwhile, neither one of them are useful.
That's going to be a quote graphic. Whoever's producing the show today.
Hey, Jason, if you're a George Pickens guy, who do you want to be the quarterback?
Probably Justin Fields.
Interesting.
Yeah, because we saw DJ Moore have a really good season last year. He still finished as one of the top wide receivers, still had over 1,000 receiving yards. And Justin Fields, his worst thing is he only really goes to his first read. And so that would be George Pickens for the most part. So I think that I'd want it to be Fields in that case if I'm a Pickens manager, just because he also has the cannon for an arm too, which will kind of unlock some of his deeper plays too. So that what you want Russ though?
I just thought Russ, the best thing he does is throw that looping deep ball, and that's like the best thing that George Pickens does. But I don't know the answer. But if I took Pickens in the 5th or 6th round, I definitely am more excited that Russ is there. Even last year, Cortland Sutton was like the only viable fantasy option. I know it was like 10 TDs on like 59 targets, but why can't that be Pickens, right?
That's fair. I will say as much as I love Pickens, I have been selling him at his current price. I can't trust Arthur Smith's offense. I can't, or at least the wide receiver 1 in that offense. I'll bet on the running backs and these quarterbacks, but I think that George Pickens is a bit too pricey for me.
I agree with that. But if you have him on your roster from a rookie draft or something, or you just took him earlier in the year because you were more optimistic, if you draft him, if he comes at a value, it's at some point like you're sitting there in your draft when you're drafting, and you're like, oh, he's definitely all right. I'll take the shot. So
that's fair.
Sometimes you have them on rosters.
That is fair. So moving on from Pittsburgh, New England this morning officially announced Jacoby Brissett as the Week 1 starter, looking like a sacrificial lamb, to be honest, behind that offensive line. How long does he last?
Physically, if he doesn't get killed, you mean from get the David Carr treatment? Yeah, I guess the rationale for not starting Drake May is hey, we don't want to like totally ruin his confidence. But man, I'm a big believer in you learn by doing, not by watching. I think this is a mistake to start Brissett. I understand that, I'll defer to the experts here. I understand why they're doing it.
Yeah.
But if you don't think that New England's going to be a 10-win team, and nobody does, right? Their total is what, like 4.5? Then why put them out there and risk it? I think this lasts less than 3 games.
I'm honestly with you. Maybe 4, but at some point, I mean, this is just already like it's a lost season for the Patriots. Like there's really no point. Like I think if you just tell him like, hey Drake, we don't care if you suck. Like just go play and learn. That's all we
go
care
play with
about.
your hair on fire, right? Like go run around.
Yeah.
See what happens. The problem is that I don't have any confidence in the coaching staff there. Gerard Mayo, is brand new. Like who knows what he's doing there? I don't know. Drake May looked like a player that popped off the page in preseason to me. I was like, whoa, faster than I thought. Some of our guys over at RotoWire that are way deeper into the college stuff than I am. And they're just like, Drake May is like, they call them like a poor man's Josh Allen in the sense where just, running from his rookie year. That seems like a good bet to me. So I think we're in agreement here that, look, you remember Deshaun Watson's rookie year? Tom Savage started.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then it was a half before they went to him. So, that could be the Drake May thing too.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it play out. Would you say you are drafting Drake May and redraft?
In a single quarterback league, I don't think it's the worst 16th round pick, but single quarterback, it would be a super flex pick. I would take him in super flex because again, he's not starting, so people are going to push him down the board. So yeah, I would like he's a legitimate sleeper, right? In a world where everyone's a sleeper because he's not starting and he's at the quarterback position, which is the deepest position.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting even because going into this process, I mean, he was highly touted before the draft and then like it just kind of got a little bit faded. And then like some of the camp rumors made it just seem bad, but then he looked really good in the preseason. I mean, he outperformed Jacoby Brissett on paper and in the eye test. So I think that they'll pull it at some point and he'll be out there. So do definitely get him while you can in Dynasty, guys. You're not very often able to acquire young quarterbacks in super flex leagues.
Well, what's get him mean? What do you think he's gettable for? Like, what's a way you can get like
you could still? I mean, probably a 2025 first because he fell in a lot of drafts, and well, you might have to add a little bit more than the first, but I feel like that's pretty much the starting price there. I mean, that's what he cost, and then with him not starting, I could see the owner wanting something like if you could give a first and Jacoby Brissett, they might just be like, whatever, I'll take the quarterback, I'll get the pick.
Would you give, if you had drafted JJ McCarthy and you had that bad luck, would you give JJ McCarthy and your second for Drake May?
And my second, I don't think I could do it. As someone who took a lot of JJ McCarthy, I am just pretty much for the most part putting him in my IR. And I would add a player or something, but I think I want to try to hold my draft capital for
How about Pittman? Would you give Pittman and JJ McCarthy for? Okay.
Too much.
All right. So, because somebody asked me today, they're in a rookie draft. They do their rookie draft really late, and McCarthy is available to him at the 203. And he said, "Do you think I should take him?" And I said, "That's an auto yes, right? Yes. Over whatever receiver is there, whatever Brock Bowers kind of fell there too, because it's half PPR." And the reason I gave him was JJ McCarthy will guaranteed be worth more this time next year than at the 202.
Yeah, it's the Michael Penix thing that we talked about last time you were on. Like, just go ahead and draft him. If you want to re-roll, you can get a first for him again next year. But just go ahead and lock him in. Get that guy.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. And that's really all the news reaction. So we're about to move on to our take portion of the show. Ooh. Before we get into it, we'll run a little bit of an ad break. And Alan, we've started something new here as the bumper. We're doing some trivia. So audience, who led the NFL in receiving yards in 2013? Which wide receiver led the NFL in receiving yards in 2013? The answer coming up right after this.
Drafting is the best part of fantasy football. Here's with point multipliers up to 2x. So you can improve your chances of being unique by putting premiums on later round picks. Okay, that's what Fast Draft's all about. Now start your engines.
Can you hear me?
All right. My Wi-Fi has crashed.
I
So
was wondering where you went. I
yeah.
I thought you had to go take a shit or something.
No, I mean, no. I have to use 5G right now. I have it's completely crashed. I got an AT&T error message. Not sure what happened there, but that was Josh Gordon, who had the most receiving yards in 2013 with 1,600 in only 14 games. So Allen,
So turn your phone. Watch. Turn your phone horizontal. Turn it horizontal.
That's
watch,
actually smart. Better. Yeah, you are a genius. This is why.
Now
Oh, look at that, ladies.
Yeah. Now take your time. Put it on like a stand. Like we'll wait for you. The audience will wait for you. You're Jason of Wake and Take. So get it stable. Get settled. I'll talk through this a little bit. I had guessed that receiving leader was Megatron, and I didn't even look it up. So where was Megatron? I'm sure it was up there those years. So I guess the answer was Josh Gordon. That's a good one. I would have never guessed that, and that was like in a limited sample too. That was like in 14 games or something.
14 games. 14 games,
Yep.
87 receptions only.
Yep.
6,200.
Just balance your thing, and you'll get it. But this is a much better situation. Do you have like a little phone clip?
No.
Okay. Yeah, you gotta have phone clip. But it's no big deal. Take your time, get it ready.
Hold on. I do.
I want everyone to look at Jason's room there and see if you find anything he should be arrested for.
Nothing I should be arrested for yet.
Right.
But one day maybe. Alan, thank you so much for sticking with me.
I see a gag ball in the back there. What is that?
I saw someone in the chat say, "Wait, Alan hasn't said anything dirty yet. Is he okay?" So there it is, guys.
Well, we started with your cocaine drink, right?
Yep, the cinnamon coffee. And I kind of have to slouch because it's a little low, but who cares? I think we're good to
this
go.
is good. Nobody would know the difference, and you sound good too.
I do?
Yeah. You sound good.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, it's a little difficult for me to change these overlays and stuff, so we're just going to keep it at this, and we're just going to move through. Alan, thanks again for being a pro and keeping me calm as well as we figure this out.
Yeah, no, dude, this is easy. I'm telling you, in the world of like ish, this is like a zero. Like it's me, it's you. You don't need to, you're comfortable with me. Nobody gives a shit about the graphics. They just want to hear your takes and us talk some football here. So take a breath, reset your brain, and let's just have some fun, man. This is one of those shows you'll always remember.
Good or bad. And it's been great so far. I've honestly been enjoying this. So, Alan, roster cutdown day. That was Tuesday. Wednesday was kind of the big reaction day. So now we're here on Thursday. The dust has kind of settled a little bit. There's been some movements. But which cut from that day has surprised you the most?
I'll tell you the one that put me on the most tilt, which has now been eradicated, was because he's been re-signed, which was the Deontay Foreman being cut from the Browns. He was my favorite last-round pick. I just thought for sure, because it was kind of obvious Nick Chubb was going to miss at least the first month of the season and then get a slow ramp-up coming back. There was no good vibes around Nick Chubb and the Browns. So I thought Foreman for sure was going to be the hammer back, and I thought maybe he would average a touchdown a game for the first 4 weeks, and then they cut him. And I was like, oh, no, this is terrible. But they re-signed him. It was some roster fuckery. It was like, hey, we need to put some guys on practice squad and do all this stuff. So he's back on the team. The other one that I thought was a little surprising, I mean, it sounded like people knew it was coming, was Desmond Ridder for Superflexers. One of my strategies has been to collect backup running backs. And Clayton Tune beats out Desmond Ridder. That was a surprising one. And then I'll rattle these off and you can focus on whatever you want. But Samaje Perine, not a surprise, but it's kind of like tilting that he ends up on Kansas City for the 3-down upside of Pacheco. And then Michael Carter getting cut was on Arizona was a little surprising to me, not a shocker, but Foreman was really the one that put a lump in my throat.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the big one. I'm glad that he's back. I'm curious to see what ends up happening. No, Perine ended up going to the Chiefs, which will be interesting. There's been that whole thing with Deneric Prince, and I think that might be the one that gutted me the most, to be honest, because you just go to PlayerProfiler.com and you see that athletic profile, and you just think like, oh, this could be Isaiah Pacheco again. But then no, Carson Steele has an awesome angry man touchdown run in the final preseason game to lock him into that spot instead, which, hey, that's another fun one as well. It's so weird that a lot of these players get cut, end up on another team, end up on practice squads, and then, like with Deontay Foreman's case, is back on the team within 2 days. It's a very interesting thing.
That's why you can't, like, in your dynasty league, start making like drops and ads and this and that. There's some guys you can, like, I was holding on to Allen Robinson. He gets cut off the Giants, who are basically have nobody other than Malik Neighbors. I'm out, right? I mean, it doesn't matter where he was signed to Detroit's practice squad. I'm out. That's an easy cut. But that's just someone that I drafted 5 years ago in a startup and didn't want to do it. I see someone says Kadarius Toney. It's like, is this your cue to clip Kadarius? It's not surprising, right, that he was cut, but it's just confirmation that another team is done with him.
I'm going to see where Kadarius Toney goes. On yesterday's show, I put it out into the universe. He's going to be the Rondale Moore replacement in Atlanta, which I think could be fun. Not a ton of volume there, but, with that, I just like watching Kadarius Toney play. He is fun to watch. He's very explosive, or at least used to be. And I think that, with that new coaching staff, they can maybe unlock something to where, you at least wouldn't want to cut him, or you can maybe flip him with that kind of landing spot.
I just saw Donald put Kadarius Phony. I thought that's a good nickname. Good one, Donald.
That's good. Yeah, that one goes right up there with Rafradre Stevenson.
I love that. Oh, very good, very good. I like. I thought Toney to the Bills. They could use anything, right? I mean, turf toast Curtis Samuel right now, and then I mean after that, like people are pushing up Khalil Shakir. I mean, fine, but come on, man. That's their number one wide receiver. Give me a break. Kadarius Phony, which we're going to use that now, would be at least something there.
Yeah. So definitely hold on to Kadarius Phony. It sounds like there will be maybe an extra inflation into that balloon, if you will, to try to maybe get a fourth for him or something if you really want to move on. Mm-hmm. So those are some of the players that were cut. Who actually made the roster that just made you do a little happy dance?
Yeah, you mentioned Carson Steele, right? Like, how can you not watch preseason and be like, whoa, wait a second here. Now, I know he's going against like fourth teamers, but he went from being like, who's this guy moving up the trending sleeper rankings to, wait a second, I want him on my team. I'm going to actually put a more than a non-zero bid. Like, I put like a 14% bid on him in the Deep Dynasty League and outbid the guy by like 12 who thought he was being slick. So he's now someone that you proactively want to get. And then the other player, he was cut and then signed by the Rams, was the running back out of Missouri, Cody Schrader. I think that they cut Zach Evans. Didn't they release, who else? They trimmed down their roster pretty good. But anyway, Schrader's going to be on the team, right? So that's those are two running backs that I went from being like that I want on my roster. Like you're rotating out the Allen Robinson types. These are the players you should be adding, in my judgment.
Yeah, no, you always kind of want to take these shots on the backup running backs at this point for free if you can. I don't really like paying up for them, but I mean, Cody Schrader in Los Angeles is interesting, especially with the news coming out that Kyren Williams is returning punts. They already spent the draft capital to get Blake Corum. I mean, it sounds like they want more bodies in that room for a reason. So definitely just more alarms going off for you Kyren Williams managers. It is honestly probably time to move on from him. It probably was months ago. But if you could still get even anything for him,
really? You're out on him, huh? See, I still like him. I think that I took the punt returning thing. Like, you don't like love it, but I mean, how many punts are in a game? 4. 3 of them are usually fair catch. I mean, they want their best players touching the ball. And I mean, look, Kyren Williams had returned kicks before, right? I mean, this is not new. This is something he's done before. And he still, in those games, had like, what, a 75% like touch share. So I'm not as freaked out. Like, I'm more on the buying side, but I understand, man, there's real panic. Like, you can offer, if you're a contending team and you have like that top late first, like that's an easy buy. Somebody will sell you that in a minute right now.
Yeah, I couldn't give a first for him, even if it's late. I think the writing is really on the wall. But I mean, it is okay to not panic too much about the punt returns. Like you said, fair catches and everything is a deal. And Sean McVay did come out and say he just wants to put the ball in his hands, really, in any way he can.
There's a market for Kyren now, right? Like, there's going to be buyers and sellers. Like, look, you and I, if we were in the same league, we'd be able to figure out a deal right now. Like, if I was like, all right, I'm not giving a first, but here's a second in Brian Robinson or something like that. We're making a deal.
Yeah, I think we could get a deal done. I think that we're there, and that just shows.
In our theoretical league.
So one of the concerns with Kyren Williams is that, there's a little bit of an injury concern there. Hasn't happened yet, but, on part of roster cut down day, lots of players end up on IR, PUP. Are any of these injuries concerning to you? Or I guess just really which one concerns you the most?
With Kyren or just in general?
In general, from these IR guys.
Yeah, well, Christian McCaffrey injury. I mean, that's that guy. I'm not drafting him at all. I mean, where he got to take him, right? Like, first pick. Are you kidding me? This is Christian McCaffrey. Like, if I was to say to you in our redraft leagues, Jason, who is likely to be on the cover of all like the fantasy magazines next year, right? Who's going to be the 101? What would be your answer?
Bijan Robinson.
Right. So it's not going to be Christian McCaffrey. Like, everyone's trying to squeeze that last bit of juice out of Christian McCaffrey injury, but forget it. It's like, I'm not taking him at 1. And I understand, like, he's going to be good, but this last year, the case against McCaffrey was they're going to kind of load manage him a little bit. Obviously that didn't happen. And it's just so many bad vibes about San Francisco. Trent Williams not signed yet. And even with him, that's like not a great offensive line. So that's like the screaming red flag for me is Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, him and Tyreek Hill for me. I'm not sure if you're on that, but I just don't those players that you have to spend such high draft capital on at their age. It's just not worth the risk for me. I'm gonna just take the risk on the next best. The player that I think can take that step or will take that step, like a Bijan, or just bet on Jamar Chase again or something. I don't know. Like, it doesn't feel right to me. If you're worried about Christian McCaffrey, I'll ask you this. Are you one of these Jordan Mason guys, or are you getting cute with it, maybe trying to get Debo, Isaac Guerrero, or just letting it play?
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Mason's a very reasonable pick, but it's, often like we think we know who the backup, the handcuff is. And then what happens in like week 6 when McCaffrey just like misses 1 week, just say, right? I'm just hypothetically. It's like this committee, there's someone you never heard of. Guerrero gets 12 touches and Mason gets 8. And then there's like some other, Debo gets a couple runs. So I like Mason, but I'm not going to like push him into the single digit rounds. If he's like a 12th, 13th round pick, that's fine. I saw him getting drafted more and more aggressively. He's probably the best one of the bunch, but we just see it all too often where there's a committee backup.
Yeah, that's what the 49ers have historically done, is they use like 3 different guys back there and Debo Samuel to carry the load. Like, you can't replace Christian McCaffrey with Jordan Mason. You can kind of replace Christian McCaffrey with Jordan Mason, Debo Samuel, and Isaac Guerrero. And I'm sure that that's the plan. So I really I do want to bring home the point to the audience. Like, yeah, if you got Jordan Mason for free, or picked him up, like, that's a really good waiver wire pickup. But just don't go, like, I'm seeing people like offer 3rds and 4ths for him right now. And I just think, like, let it play out first. Like, maybe give that up if Christian McCaffrey gets hurt or something and it actually happens. But it's just not worth it. There are tons of backup running backs in the league, and tons of even cheaper handcuffs that'll probably get more volume if an injury is to go their way. So don't go too crazy for Mr. Mason.
Oh, look, your friend is in what's the bird's name?
This is Pip.
Pip, nice.
This is probably his first time on camera without the green screen. Normally he gets cut out because it doesn't pick up words.
Right. Oh, I got you. No, it's good. I think it's nice. Look, he's right up against you. He's listen, I don't mind. I like that it's funny when I was telling my wife this morning, I'm going on with Jason. She looks at me and says, Jason, I go, the Birdman. So then she knew right away.
The Birdman, that's me.
Yeah. Yep. When did you become a Birdman? How did that happen?
Oh, he's actually 9 years old.
Okay. I'm saying, there was a thing when you were a kid
So I started dating my now fiance in high school. She had a bird. We've been together since, and Yeah, we bought him after a couple years of dating. She was like, I want a bigger bird because she just had a parakeet.
So
Got him on Craigslist.
so somebody you love was a bird
Yes.
person, and then took an interest in their interest. Okay. Yeah, because I just, I always went over the people's house when I was a kid and they had the bird, and I was like, all right, it's cool. But I was like, I never thought to go get my own bird.
I'm telling you, it's the best companionship. It's really nice. He flies to you, and I don't know how to describe it. It just feels
Like you
really
put your hand in the cage, they stand on your finger. I get it. I know the whole
I,
thing.
he's I mean, he goes to his cage to sleep, but I keep him out actually all the time. He's a free man.
I love it. I love it. Who the hell wants to live behind bars? That's great.
No one. No one. So,
totally
anything else you want to add from roster cutdown day that kind of stood out to you, or shall we move on?
What did I have here? We talked about Schrader. No, and Samaje. Samaje is a guy that like even in our 30 deep leagues, like Samaje was clipped in a couple leagues. So he's an active bid. I want to implore everyone to put a 20% bid on Samaje. Like he's going to be in that Jerick McKinnon role potentially. I mean, it could be nothing, but what's really out there? And then I think he's a very reasonable late round pick in redraft.
Yeah, I mean, he floats around and then ends up being productive wherever he goes. It seems just one of those players.
He's almost like Latavius Murray's career.
Yeah, I mean, kind of on the same trajectory. Next thing you know, he'll be in the Bills taking carries from James Cook.
There it is.
Let's move on to the topic that's kind of basically within the same realm, just preseason training camp. Who was a big standout to you from late July, August, basically last month or so?
I think there's 3 players that over-delivered on high expectations, and actually one of them on a little bit lower. Caleb Williams looks like the real deal, right? Scrambling around, improvised plays. I mean, if you took Caleb Williams at 1-1 in your rookie draft, or if you're taking him as like the 12th quarterback, I think you have to have confidence that you have like, a real NFL quarterback who's going to be good and mobile. So I think Caleb was good there. Xavier Worthy. I mean, we knew he was fast, but like, can he play? Look, we're always saying who's this year's Puka Nacua, who's this year's Tank Dell. Sometimes it's obvious and it's right in front of you. So Worthy is a player that I've been taking in the 5th round of my redraft leagues. Like I'm very comfortable taking him there now. And the last one was, I think at this point you have to realize that Bo Nix being older, like 25-year-old player, is like a feature, not a bug, right? Like he's an experience. So Bo Nix very in on as far as with the Sean Payton coaching. So Caleb, Worthy, Nix, 3 players that stood out to me that are like very much in play in 2024.
Yeah, that's a great list. They blew high expectations away, like you said. And Bo Nix, I think, really kind of solidified himself as a starting caliber quarterback. I think a lot of people had some concerns. Taking forever to break out in college generally means that you're going to take a little bit to break out in the NFL. But like you said, I think that him staying in college so long has just added enough experience to where, the game is just slowed down for him, even at the NFL.
And Sean Payton, yes, that's the key right there, I think.
Yeah, and Sean Payton's system is very similar to what he ran in Oregon. So I think that he is way more comfortable than people were giving credit for. And you can get him so cheap right now. And I think the best thing about him in particular is not only is he cheap, but, the Broncos are going to be bad. But for fantasy, we don't really care about that. Like, the man really could be a garbage time just king, really, him and the Broncos receivers. And they're all available so late. Even down to Troy Franklin, I'm taking shots on just cuts. I mean, why not? These Broncos are going to be playing from behind. These guys are going to be throwing the ball.
Do you like Javonte a little bit better now? Do you think he'll catch some dump offs?
I can't come around to a Broncos running back, Alan. I can't do it. It just seems too murky to where I'm just attacking the other backfields in the NFL if I have to. Now, Javonte Williams' price isn't too bad, especially in Dynasty. Yeah,
I'm in redrafts. I got him in the 7th round when I went running back in the 1st round, like 5 straight receivers. And I was like, ooh, I need one now. It was like, Najee Harris was there. Javonte was there. It was like Ramondre was gone. So I just, like you said, the price is right. And so you just, what is it about him? You don't think he can catch 35, 40 passes?
I don't know. I feel like Jaleel McLaughlin's going to catch passes. I feel like Audric Estime is going to catch passes. I don't think that there's going to be a true bell cow there. I mean, Javonte is probably going to end up leading the way. And he looks a lot like he has started to look a lot better from all the reports in camp that he does actually finally have his health back. And I mean, from what we saw in his rookie season, I mean, that could be a really good year. So
I'm not against it. It's just, it's been hard for me to do it. Like I'm looking at the other running backs in the range, and generally I'm pressing the DeAndre Swift button, the Najee Harris button, or just waiting and getting like Jonathan Brooks and really, really, really getting skinny in the RB room.
Can we talk about Brooks for a minute here?
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, because I just don't like injuries are going to find you during the season. I just don't go like looking for them in my draft, and I know the easy pushback, and there's something to it. Is hey, draft Jonathan Brooks now, and you're going to win your league in week 12 on or whatever it is. But I mean, most leagues have what 5 or 6 bench spots. And I mean, this is not a dynasty discussion, right? This is 5 or 6 bench spots. And then sure, if you have an IR, I guess you could do it, but let's just talk. I just can't, like, when everyone else is cycling through their roster with these roster pickups, right? Or waiver wire pickups. It's just so hard to hold on to guys like that are already injured.
That's fair. I mean, if you don't have an IR spot, I mean, then that's definitely going to put a sting in it. But the way I kind of look at it is, and maybe it's just because it burned me before, but a few years back when DeAndre Hopkins had the suspension, and I understand this is something different, that was kind of priced in, right? Like you could get DeAndre Hopkins really cheap late. You had to, the cost was that you didn't have a player for the first 8 weeks of the season or whatever it was. But then he came back and he was a top 10 wide receiver every single week on. And unfortunately for me, I got impatient. I had to move on from him. And because I needed a wide receiver, it was a shallow thing. And I just always look back at that and just think like, man, sometimes you've just got to be patient, like this player is going to come back at some point. He's going to be leaned on. And especially in the Panthers case, like, and them trading up to get him, I think they're very, very much in on Jonathan Brooks and they want to feed him the ball. And I could see them being like, with it being just a lesser offensive line, a lesser team in general, no true alpha in the receiving room. I'm expecting him to catch a ton of passes as well. So I want to take that shot on him. I do.
I will be drafting a lot of Jonathan Brooks next year. I just want someone else to have to deal with it this year. And just back to that Javonte thing. So I'll give you Najee was gone when I took him. Here was the next 5 running backs. And just tell me real quick, and then we can move on. What if you would take? So it's Javonte or the next 5. I'm going to say Pollard. Zamir.
I like Zeus.
Jalen Warren.
Javonte.
Singletary.
Javonte.
Brian Robinson.
B-Rob. I think he's just the biggest undervalued player right now, though, Brian Robinson.
Yeah, and Eckler was the next one.
At that point, I would still go with Javonte, I think.
Okay, all right. So we're not too far off. We're in the mix.
Yeah, I like Tony Pollard a lot. I like Tony Pollard a lot. I do. And I think that Zeus is going to have a good season in Las Vegas, at least in volume. Fair. We'll see what that ends up turning into. In this draft, I was trying to draft players I normally didn't. I was trying to get some guys I don't like, just in case I'm wrong about my takes. That was the strategy. It's that time of year. I'm looking at some of my drafts. I'm just still doing best ball drafts, and sometimes it comes up, and it's like, do I continue to flag plant, or do I take this player I still have not drafted all summer? And it's like, you know what? I'll take the player I've not drafted all summer, and we'll see.
What happens?
Just lose the conviction a week before the season. All right, Alan. I want some money moves for you. It's the super hot take time. Who's your number 1 buy right now? You can only buy one player in fantasy football. Who is it?
All right. So at the top of the board, I still think Garrett Wilson, whatever you have to pay, is going to be undervalued. I think he has the number 1 overall wide receiver upside. I don't think anyone disagrees there. So he would be like the top of the board. Cooper Kupp is a great buy at age 30.
Yes.
Vibes only going up. I see him now going like in the middle of the second round. Still think it's a deal. If someone took him in the first round, I wouldn't have any problem. So Cooper Kupp in the mid board, Garrett Wilson at the top of the board. And we already talked about Bo Nix and super flex leagues. It's so easy to see him being like QB 15 when you're paying like QB 28 prices. Those are the buys.
Those are all really good.
Yeah, one deeper, one just like super deep. If like, because I know that's the type of stuff you do on the show. With the Jelani Woods injury in Indy, Granson to me is like interesting in those like 2 tight end leagues, or he's the top of the depth chart. It'd probably be nothing, but that's the super deep. What's on my waiver wire?
Yeah, I like all of those takes. With Cooper Kupp, I just think that there's a big disrespect there, really. I mean, when he was back last year, he actually had more games over 10 targets than Puka Nacua, still finished top 10 in red zone targets, still very clearly the alpha in that offense. So I think that's good. And I've got to ask you about Garrett Wilson, because it's kind of taken me forever to get there. I don't know what it is. He's been one player that I have no shares of in Dynasty, have kind of been avoiding in redraft. What is drawing you to him?
Well, look what Rodgers is when Rodgers has a true number one alpha. And if Rodgers is like 60% of what he used to be and is like the 17th best quarterback in the league this year, I mean, look what Wilson did with literally the worst quarterback play ever. The only quarterback worse than Zach Wilson was Tim Boyle, and he was on the roster too. So if Rodgers gives Wilson the Devontae Adams, the Jordy Nelson treatment, I mean, that just means that he will be in that elite tier, moving ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Right now, you have some contract issues still looming with Chase. There's warts all over Jefferson because of Sam Darnold. And then, obviously, CeeDee Lamb. You know, I would take Garrett Wilson right now ahead of A.J. Brown in a redraft, certainly ahead of Chase. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown is like an upside guess you have to do. So it's really thinking about what we saw the floor, which was like wide receiver 24 with the worst situation. What can Wilson be with an average, or if Rodgers is top 12, man, forget it. It's like an easy call.
Yeah. I'm starting to come around to it, admittedly. I don't know. I think it's just my Aaron Rodgers hate, really. It's been blinding my potential for getting in on Garrett Wilson. Because, I mean, you're right. I mean, tons of targets are going to go his way. Tons of targets have been going his way. They just haven't been catchable. He's clearly been winning routes. He's been making splash plays here and there. And he's been productive with some of the worst quarterback play ever. And as applied literature says here in the chat, he's a walking 1,000 yards. So,
yeah.
You know.
And Rodgers, he likes to throw on the goal line. You remember, like, they'd be like on the 2-yard line and they would go to Devontae Adams on a little rollout. So, you know, that's a little dangerous for Breece Hall. Nothing's wrong with Hall. He didn't get touchdowns really last year. But I just think that number 7, you know, Garrett Wilson, it's so easy to see him getting the Devontae Adams treatment. So that is where I'm at. And we can look up, and next year, Garrett Wilson might be on the cover of the quote magazines.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good pick. Instead of Bijan, say it's Garrett Wilson on all the magazine covers next year. I like that. I like that take, Alan. If you could sell any player, just one player, who are you selling?
I think Puka is the obvious one, right? I mean, he's such a stud, but if you're going to be able to get like top 7 wide receiver prices for him, and
you get Garrett Wilson,
right? You could if you can make that exchange even all day, all night. But I think that the market is a little like hip to that. Puka is like a little shaky right now with because one goes up, Cup, one must come down. It's Puka, so it's kind of everything the inverse of what we just said there. I'd like to see a receiver do it twice, like elite level twice, before I anoint him to that elite tier. Puka, I mean, look, best receiver, rookie receiver season of all time, so it's easy to see. But yeah, he's my number one sell right now.
I like that. Who's your sleeper? I know you mentioned Kylan Granson as a buy, but just generally, like, who's your big sleeper right now?
Michael Wilson, Arizona Cardinals, finished the season last year once Kyler was healthy with 2 15-point fantasy games. I mean, Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison will presumably be the top 2 targets, but Wilson's not a slouch. And like I said, once Kyler was healthy, Jason, you saw the upside there. So, I mean, nobody in the 12th, 14th round of redrafts, I literally probably 100% ownership. And then Manuel Wilson with the A.J. Dillon injury, I think is at least a good, backup running back. Josh Jacobs, if he goes down, and Lloyd is still a little banged up. I don't know much about Wilson, but it's like he's moved to number 2 on the depth chart right now.
Yeah, he was one of the preseason standouts last year. Did actually crack the roster and have a few like at least opportunities last year, not like much actual fantasy production, but yeah, I mean, I didn't really think about that one. That could be the week 1 waiver wire pickup, yes. Alan.
Yes.
It's Emmanuel Wilson. It's Emmanuel Wilson. We just stumbled into it.
Yeah, we failed back. We failed forward.
That's awesome. That's a good one. Nice. So we've got buy, sell, sleepers. Hot take 2024.
Yeah. Rashee Rice is going to get an 8-game suspension this year. And let me explain. He could be the danger is that he could be acquitted tomorrow. All the charges dropped. He pleads it out. That's when the NFL is going to take action. They have said they're going to take action after the case is concluded, right? So there is real risk. And we've seen this before where there's no legal case and the NFL still uses the conduct detrimental to the shield argument. So
Yep.
Rashee Rice is either going to have a 0-game suspension or an 8-game suspension. It's not going to be a 2-game or 4-game. And if this case gets wrapped up like tomorrow, the next day, the NFL is going to act, and it's going to be an 8-game. So hot take, Rashee Rice drafters, you're going to be sick to your stomach. Wasted pick in the 4th round where he goes now.
Those Xavier Worthy shares are really speaking to you, Alan.
Well, they're all related, right? All my takes are connected. What do you have a Rashee Rice prediction? Like I said, I'm not predicting this. I'm just saying it's probably a 25% chance of happening.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see the suspension coming out this year if he does just kind of settle the thing. I think that's happened before. I think they have done in-season suspensions
many times. It happened to Zeke, and remember in the fantasy
yes,
playoffs.
It was Zeke. That's what it was. Zeke. Yes, he missed the fantasy playoffs. Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely possible. I mean, even if it isn't just dropped, like halfway through the season, they just I don't know. I don't think I think it has to be dropped.
The NFL said once the legal case is concluded, we will take action. So if the legal case gets kicked to next year, that's fine. But if they settle, like if Rashee Rice could go to jail for what he did, but if they play him out and just say, hey, community service, all this stuff, you won't go to jail, then it's settled like in December, suspension begins. Or if they drop all charges tomorrow, suspension begins.
So don't get too cute with Rashee Rice, especially in Dynasty. I think you can maybe still take some shots in redraft here and there, especially best ball. But in Dynasty, I'm definitely staying away from him and Jordan Addison, for that matter, while we're on the knucklehead topic.
Knucklehead factor is real, right? At least it's baked into Addison's price. Like I got him in the 10th round of redraft. Like Rice has moved up, not down.
Yeah, the closer we get to kickoff, the higher Rashee Rice is going, and the lower Marquise Brown and Xavier Worthy is going. I see them continuously drop, where I thought it would kind of be at least Worthy continuously rise, but even he's kind of steadied out. It's just everyone wants Rashee Rice right now, which is fair. He ended the year really well, but he was also kind of the only weapon. So I am curious to see what the Chiefs do with everyone now. That's a fun one. That's a fun one. Alan, thank you for joining me. Tell the people where they can find you, all the great stuff you're working on.
Yeah, I'll promote one thing because there's nothing more annoying than when someone comes on here and gives you their laundry list of things they do. It's like, just give me one thing. If you have SiriusXM radio, I'll be on every Sunday in season from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern, right? Just getting you ready for the week, the day. So that's channel 87 on SiriusXM or on their app. And other than that, follow on Twitter, Alan Seslowsky. I'll let you know everything that's going on, if you even care.
Yeah, we'll definitely go follow Alan. Check out SiriusXM and all the great stuff coming out on RotoWire. And make sure you get tuned into the Sonic Truth when they make their triumphant return. I'm sure with maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, they want to do a podcast on Monday with Matt and Theo, and that'll be the last one for the year.
Ooh, so there you go. There you go. Big episode coming up on Monday for the Sonic Truth, the finale of the 2024 season. Ooh. So, Alan, you have a great day. Thanks again for joining me. Audience, you guys have a terrific Thursday and a wonderful rest of your week. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe so you could tune in tomorrow for some more Wake and Take.
Can I give you one end of the compliment here, Jason? I despite the internet gods getting to you, you're still an elite level host of a show. I still think this is one of the best shows in fantasy world, and it's had longevity. You have a following. I really am. I would say I'm jealous of what you're doing. So keep it up.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. That is a very high compliment. And I respect you very much, Alan. So that means a lot to me. Thank you so much. You heard it here first, guys. Wake and Take, best fantasy football show in the industry. Hit the bell so you get notified when we go live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern for some more Wake and Take. Have a good one. Peace.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to PlayerProfiler.com. Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, Data Analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.